Save a man's life in the heart of the storm. Plus, see a rescue turn anything but routine.
This wasn't supposed to happen.
Watch Storm Stories on the Weather Channel. Tomorrow at 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Order and get your third in a series of limited edition WrestleMania 20 collectible trading cards from Fleer.
WWE No Mercy is live Sunday, October 19th on Comcast.
I'll never forget hearing the news that all 3 Anthrax letters had passed through our postal facility here in Hamilton.
State officials did nothing but tell postal workers to call their doctor.
I was stunned. You can't tell 1,000 people on a Friday evening that they've been exposed to anthrax and then expect them to wait until they can get a hold of their doctor.
Mayor Glenn Gilmore immediately ordered enough Cipro to treat every postal worker. The New York Times called him a national hero. We have a mayor we can be proud of.
On this date, back in 1954, a major hurricane made landfall in the United States. It was Hazel, a Category 4 hurricane that slammed the North Carolina coast with 150-mile-per-hour winds. After making landfall 24 hours later, it was in Canada, where 78 people lost their lives in flooding. Fortunately, the U.S. coast and Canada is looking fine as far as tropical weather goes, but as we head further out into the Atlantic Ocean, there's this. This is Tropical Storm Nicholas. Maximum sustained winds 50 miles an hour, and the movement is to the west-northwest at 8 miles per hour. It's only a problem for marine interests out here over the open waters of the Pacific Ocean. We're watching it. It's bubbling up from time to time. Looked a lot better last night when I saw you than it does here tonight. The circulation is on the northwest side of all this shower activity. It is encountering some shear. Notice the drier air and also the tendency for the clouds to be moving this way. It's kind of cutting off the western part, at least, of the outflow of this tropical storm, and that is keeping it from strengthening, at least in the short term. It may continue to strengthen and perhaps become a minimal hurricane over the next couple of days or so and continue this northwest track. That's what we believe right now. It is in an area that is fairly favorable for some tropical development. If you live in Puerto Rico and you're wondering, uh-oh, are we going to have to deal with this baby? Well, chances are you won't. At this point, we think that northwest track will continue. And if it strengthens much more, it may turn more northerly. So we have a hopeful feel for things right now, especially if you're living in the islands. The weather tomorrow will just be great. Notice a couple of lines of clouds here. Those are in association with cold fronts. This one's gone slowly. This is the one that blew through New York City last night and Miami today. That will keep anything tropical from getting close to the United States. So if you live along the eastern seaboard or the Gulf Coast, the weather looks just fine there as well. With these cold fronts moving from west to east and a little further south as the days go by, the tendency for tropical development smooshes southward. Notice the concentration of dots in the southern and western Caribbean. That's where they have formed this late in October. And there was an area of low pressure over the Caribbean that has moved across into Central America, causing scattered showers here, will reemerge out over the Pacific and may develop there. If you're watching on cable from Central America, be on the lookout for tropical development here over the next day or two. Mexican coast looks just super, no problems here. A couple of weak areas of low pressure way down here south of Cabo San Lucas, but nothing out here over the Pacific all the way to Hawaii. That, my friend, is your tropical update. Back here in the lower 48, Mother Nature's getting rid of a storm, and in behind it, the winds have brought the cooler air southward. Fortunately, tomorrow, the wind will not be the issue it was today. Here in the west, temperatures approaching 100 in Phoenix. We'll have more details on Thursday's weather next.
There's more from the Weather Channel at weather.com. More travel updates.
Storm Nicholas, of course, here's South America, and as you can see, it's really far from the United States. And at least at this point, we don't think it's going to be impacting folks in the U.S. Now, again, the position of it, we're about, almost 1,000 miles, about 920 miles from the Windward Islands, moving northwest at 9. The winds are at 60 miles per hour. It has intensified a little bit overnight. The pressure is 997 millibars, or 29.44 inches of mercury, and it has continued on that northwest track since its beginning. And we have seen some tropical systems develop here in the western and central Atlantic, but the biggest area for development this time of the year is typically in the Caribbean, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But again, it is far from land, so we have plenty of time to watch this. As you can see, starting to see a little bit of outflow here in the northwest quadrant, while we've had it here in the southeastern quadrant. So we can get a little better organized, maybe the shear lessening a little bit here. It is forecast to become a hurricane over the next couple of days, and the path through, 72 hours or so, takes it to the northwest and will continue that track. And if it does become a hurricane, it will probably for sure take this track. But beyond this period, we just tell folks after Sunday, just tune in and we'll let you know where the position, or we think it's going from that point. Otherwise, in the Atlantic Basin, it's quiet. Even in the Caribbean, a few showers and thunderstorms, a broad area of low pressure. And it's possible this is moving now into the eastern Pacific. We could see a tropical depression form here with some of this convection here over the next couple of days. Slow to develop. We'll keep an eye on it. The biggest problem will be the showers and storms causing some heavy rain here in Central America. Then we have two areas. This little flare-up of thunderstorms and this one here, both, worth watching, but at least right now it doesn't look like it's very organized, but it's something that we'll keep an eye on here probably for the next couple of days. That's it for your tropical update, Nick.
A cool down, a hurricane, and a warm-up. Linda Bell tells us how all three impacted retail sales in recent weeks. She has your Bloomberg Money Barometer.
Good morning. U.S. retail sales excluding autos rose in September for the 5th straight month. Sales increased 0.3% last month to $244 billion. Purchases of clothing and building materials led the September increase. Preparations for Hurricane Isabel and the rebuilding that followed lifted sales. That's the roundup for the month of September. As for the weekly tally, Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi said weekly chain store sales fell 0.5% in the week ended October 11th. There was a slowdown in shopping activity and spending in fall merchandise as the weather turned warm, especially in the Midwest as well as the Northeast. The warm weather also affected sales at the world's largest retailer. Earlier this week, Walmart said same-store sales are rising within its forecast of a gain to 3 to 5% in October from a year earlier. Sales were strongest on the East Coast and the week ended Friday, though they started to slow with the onset of warmer weather. For the Weather Channel, I'm Linda Bell with the Bloomberg Money Barometer.
Well, coming up, Dennis Smith takes a look at travel.
Will today's windy conditions and rain cause you some delays? We'll have the answer when we return.
This program was brought to you by U.S. Bank. Who's the most convenient bank in America? That's us, U.S. Bank.
Who's the most convenient bank in America? U.S. Bank. With branches in more states, more convenient ATMs, and more 24-hour banking options. All backed by our 5-star service guarantee. The most convenient bank? That's us, U.S. Bank.
Action! Remember, when you hit the water, I need you to hydroplane out of control. Water! Remember, out of control. Cut! No, cut! Cut. Back in. Fire the stunt driver.
The new Michelin Hydro Edge with patented hydro chutes. It's our best performing tire in its class. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Michelin tires are available at a dealer near you or visit Michelin.com.
Hi, folks. You guys obviously like Mexican, right? Wait right here. I am going to show you how to make great Mexican food with brand spanking new Pace Mexican Creations cooking sauces. For anything from classic tacos to sweet roasted onion and garlic fajitas. Anybody like fajitas? I can see the little nipper does. You just brown your meat, cook it in, and enjoy. Anybody can do it. Anybody. Hi. I gotta go.
New Pace Mexican Creations cooking sauces. Grab the Southwest by the bottle.
Welcome
Welcome to Weather Center. I'm Rich Johnson.
And I'm Kristen Dodd. It's 50 past the hour, so of course it's time for our tropical update. And we do have Tropical Storm Nicholas that is in the Atlantic on this Thursday. What about typically this time of year? Is this that unusual to see tropical activity? Well, looking over climatology, taking it in increments of 100 years, here's what you typically would see with the peak of hurricane season coming in early September. But the early portion into mid-October, generally, at least historically speaking, we have seen just a minor peak in activity. So it's not that unusual to see some activity at this point in hurricane season. Now, here is what we have seen in the past, 115 years or so, from October 11th to October 20th. And 80 storms have formed within this time frame. Now, this is all the points of origin. So notice the farther in the Atlantic you head, less likely, at least looking back in history, of seeing some type of development. The hotbed coming into the Caribbean, and we'll check out that area coming up in just a second. But we do have a tropical storm. This is Tropical Storm Nicholas, and it is forecast to continue strengthening. Here's the latest on Nicholas as of 11 a.m. from the Hurricane Center. Maximum sustained winds now at 60 miles an hour. Movement continues to the northwest at 8 miles an hour, and you can see the estimated pressure here. A little bit closer view of Nicholas shows this system continuing to move off to the northwest. It is going to be encountering some troughiness and a shearing environment, so we're not looking at this to continue to make a direct beeline for the United States. So that is definitely some good news. Here we are looking at the water vapor imagery, so it gives us an idea of some of the water in the atmosphere in the mid and upper levels, and it also gives us a clue to some subtleties in movement of air at those levels as well. So here we have Nicholas at the bottom of your screen. Now notice right here a fairly vigorous trough and another one heading off the United States. All of this is going to help keep Nicholas at bay and continue to pull it to the northwest. Eventually, we more than likely will see this continue out over the open waters and perhaps turn more to the northeast. But at this point, here is the projected path through Sunday morning to stay out over the open waters, slowly strengthening to a hurricane over the weekend. Closer inspection of the Gulf of Mexico, crystal clear here, very nice conditions. Out into the Caribbean, taking a closer examination with our infrared imagery showing very little convection. And again, this was the hotbed of activity this time of year, typically. No development at this point. If you're heading out to the islands, beautiful day coming in, just a gorgeous day to be heading out, enjoying a lot of sun, surf, and sand. Off the Mexican coastline, one batch of convection, no sign of development here, so looking clear across the Pacific, the closer to the United States you head. Now let's even head to the lower 48, and with all the details in our Storm Watch segment, here's Rich.
Yeah, let's head over and see what's going on back in the lower 48, and we do have some real nice weather in the south, somewhat stormy across areas of the north. Compared to yesterday, nothing much. The big storm now heading up across Quebec. Yesterday, very gusty winds over toward Oswego yesterday, up to 70 miles per hour. Today, just a few rain showers. In the northwest, we have some rain coming in. Northwestern Washington State, very heavy rain. Several inches of rain has come in. Still very wet today. The rain really lined up from the Cascades all the way back over the coast. And looking at the forecast, I would say northwest Washington State could see several more inches of rain as we head through the next 2 or even 3 days. Over toward the northeast and Midwest, just 1 or 2 light rain showers coming out of Ohio right into Pennsylvania. And of course, for the Yankees, a Red Sox game. It's in the Bronx tonight, Yankee Stadium. We're looking for partly cloudy skies. Might need a jacket as temperatures drop through the 50s. Of course, whoever wins that game will be joining the Marlins in the World Series this weekend.
Tomorrow at 8, watch Storm Stories. A firestorm rages out of control.
And you could see fireballs twirling in the air.
One man faces a desperate decision in order to save his life.
But I've never been so scared.
Plus, a sandstorm misjudged.
We didn't have any warning.
And its fury inescapable. Watch Storm Stories on the Weather Channel. Tomorrow at 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Hallow Screams await you this October at Clementine Amusement Park. It's a family
fun night of fright. Enjoy our fabulous lineup of thrill rides. And there's lots of activities for every ghoul and boy. Then take the Hallow Screams Railway for a ride you won't soon forget, or maybe not return from. Who knows? Make your last trip your best trip. Hallow Screams at Clementine Amusement Park. Coupons available at these participating sponsors.
What are you moving towards? What do your eyes see when they look beyond the horizon? You know where you're going. And at Fleet, we see it too. And we're here to help you get there. With advice you can use to make smarter money decisions. Because the ones we make today shape the realities we live with tomorrow.
Welcome back to Storm Watch. It's 10 minutes to the top of the hour, and it's time to take a look at our tropical update. Let's start off by taking a look at some climatological information, let's say. Over the last 100 years, we have noticed that in the middle of October, we seem to get a little spike in the activity across the Atlantic basin, and that's exactly what we've seen here over the last several days. Now, it's not a spike as in a lot of storms, but nonetheless enough to get Nicholas out of this. So certainly, climatologically speaking, we're right on target, I'd say. The next one is Odette, but right now what we're dealing with is Nicholas. And a much closer look at Nicholas shows that it's still not well together. It's not exactly what you can say, oh, there's the center of the storm. It's actually a little difficult right now to find where the center of the storm is. But there is one thing you can notice is that fan flare, that flaring of the clouds. So there's some pretty good strong strength, some winds within it that are strong enough to do so. But the winds are up to 65 miles per hour. Still a ways from becoming a hurricane. Nonetheless, that chance to see this become a hurricane is not being ruled out. Winds right now, as I mentioned, are 65 miles per hour. It has to be 74 in order to be a hurricane. It's moving to the west-northwest at 9 miles per hour. It's still a way